It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Before we begin today's episode, I want to pause and share something important. My guest for this conversation, Koby Falks, passed away after we recorded together. After talking with my team and with his, we felt that releasing the episode is what Koby would have wanted. He was too humble for his own good, but anyone who knew him or spoke to him could see the fullness with which he lived his life. This episode is a chance to hear Koby's voice, his story, and his spirit one more time. We share it with love and gratitude in memory of him. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Kink Consultant. I am joined by Koby Falks, and Koby is a content creator on OnlyFans on Instagram. Welcome, Koby.
Thank you for having me. I'm not just an OnlyFans creator, I'm an adult performer, so I sort of am across multiple platforms. I have started doing live performances, which has been a lot of fun. So after just being in my bedroom, I'm now doing sex shows in front of people. So it has gone the full arc.
What does that entail? What does a sex show in front of people? And this is in Australia, right?
Correct. Yeah, it is. In Australia, I don't know if you know, but we have states similar in the US.
Yeah.
Some states are more liberal than others. I live in Melbourne. Here we can have sex on premise at licensed venues. In other states you can't. A lot of the gay parties here are very sex positive with that, and part of that is live sex shows, and I headline quite a few of them. So that is performing live sex with someone else on stage for an audience. So everyone stops, music goes down, we come out, do a 10-15 minute sex show, and everyone kind of gets to enjoy it. So
All right. The entire podcast has just become about this right now, because I did not realize that. That is awesome. First question off the bat is, do you get performance anxiety?
I mean, I still get nervous. It's hard. I mean, I'm actually naturally a bottom. For me, my brand has become more of a top, but I do have enhancements to help me perform, especially live on stage. So, and it is only 10-15 minutes, but it was something that when I first did it was, I'm sort of glad that I have doing it at the end of my career in OnlyFans, because I've gotten used to being able to have sex in front of the camera with my partner when we started, then cameramen, and then other people, and now I'm doing live shows. It's kind of been a little bit of a slow transition. If I was going straight into just doing live sex shows without that sort of background, I think it would be a lot more intimidating.
Okay.
Yeah.
What came before OnlyFans? What was like the mini step before that?
Nothing really. I was just very conservative, very vanilla, to be honest. I was, just a boy next door.
You're a daddy next door.
I am a daddy next door, yeah.
So when you say top and bottom, a lot of my listeners think kink, bottom and top, but you're speaking gay, bottom and top. Is it
Correct.
common for bottoms to play the top role for sex work, content creation, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I sort of defaulted to a bottom, I guess, because I wouldn't say that I have ED in terms of erectile dysfunction, but it was just that, for me, topping, it would only be like a couple of minutes or whatever, or I never really would sustain for hours kind of thing. And so it was a lot easier for me to default to a bottom. And obviously for guys, there's a lot of pleasure in bottoming through your prostate. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're gay either. It's a physiological thing, whether you enjoy it or not.
Absolutely. And I don't want to skip over that point. It is not a gay thing. I can guarantee a lot of straight men enjoy having their prostate milked. There's a reason pegging is so popular.
100%. And I know plenty of other straight guys that do like ass play as well. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So I use Trimix, which is sort of very common in the gay scene now and amongst performers, which is basically an injectable for your penis that gives you an erection. So it's kind of the next level after Viagra. So it's pretty much a guaranteed erection for a couple of hours. And since I found that a few years ago, I have become a lot more versed because I've been able to sustain as a top, essentially. And it's become a lot more enjoyable because it takes away the psychological element of, fuck, I'm going soft. Like, what's wrong with me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or, I'm not quite turned on right now. Like, I'm a bit tired,
That's a lot different for a man because everyone can see. As a woman, I'm like dry as the Sahara Desert, but no one except the person I'm with knows that. It could even be our little secret. But for men, it's a lot harder. especially
Well,
on show.
I mean, as a bottom, there are times where I'm like, okay, it's been like 20 minutes kind of thing, and I'm just laying here. My back's kind of sore, but I mean, my back gets sore now topping too because I'm just at that age.
My back gets sore pegging people. So I get it. Tops have a tough job with
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like a special occasion thing and it's a cardio workout. So very impressive that you do it as part of a show. How did you get scouted for that?
It really was just about my brand or my profile being recognizable. I'm not a stranger to the party scene here in Melbourne either. And a lot of the people who are, a lot of the party promoters or a lot of the go-go's who are in the party circuit here are OnlyFans creators as well. So we've sort of built up a network here that helps us to connect with basically to be able to shoot scenes. As an aside of that, the party promoters are also in that network because it gives them access to people who are willing to perform, whether that is sexualized or not, just as sort of a, normal go-go, or they'll offer more like what I'm doing, which is live sex shows. So there, and then it's kind of a payoff because then the OnlyFans creators, such as myself, are also getting out there in front of a live audience, and it sort of just helps a little bit with the brand. So it's been really beneficial.
Yeah, I could totally see it being good marketing because like people actually get to see you and then I assume you take orders for customs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of custom videos. I definitely do sell custom underwear for some people. But yeah, I mean, I do a lot of collabs. So I think in the gay space, customs are not as big as what it is with the straight space. I think the biggest thing I noticed between the mainly women and the OnlyFans and guys is that like the guys who are interacting with women are looking a lot more for a kind of girlfriend experience or that kind of online relationship that's a bit more personalized.
Yeah.
I think gay guys just consume. They just want hot content. They don't necessarily want to do a lot of engagement. So the problem is that sex is really accessible in the gay community. So your customers who are subscribing have a very different psychology of what they expect when they're paying compared to a straight guy who's logging onto OnlyFans. Like a straight guy who's logging onto OnlyFans will set a budget of maybe $100 or $200 to drop in a session with PPV, chatting, getting personal videos and stuff. A gay guy going onto OnlyFans wants to pay the monthly subscription and get access to everything on your wall. And it's simply because as a straight guy, sex is very much controlled by society, whereas as a gay guy, and just naturally through our community, sex is very prominent in the clubs, like I was just talking about. There's not many straight clubs you can go to and see a live sex show and have sex at the club in a specific room called a dark room. You can at every gay club here. So all of a sudden, the access to sex is a lot lower in the gay market. So it's like, well, why should I pay $200 tonight when I can just go somewhere else and get it for free? So I would say it's definitely still lucrative, but it's never going to be as lucrative just simply due to that sort of marketing psychology.
Yeah, tough market. How much does a ticket to the sex show cost?
Well, if you come with me, it's free. If you're my plus one.
If I make it to Australia.
But generally, like, normal entry door price, $25, $30 or something.
Are you
So it's not
serious?
too bad.
That's so affordable. I go to like kink parties here and it's about the same. It's probably like $20. I do see sex. It's not a show and it's not guaranteed that sex is going to happen, but and they're all just house parties because in Vegas where I live, BDSM is illegal. Like impact play and stuff like that. So you can't own a dungeon here. So we have to go to house parties as opposed to being able to. So you were talking about different states having different laws. We're the same here.
I mean, it makes sense.
Sort of the same. So how long have you been doing OnlyFans for?
This would be my 5th year.
That kind of makes you a veteran of OnlyFans then.
Yeah, I don't feel like I am, but I kind of am now because when we started it, there were obviously quite a few people that were already established and it was just around the time of COVID and OnlyFans was kind of hitting the pop culture mainstream, but it hasn't quite taken off yet. We decided, my business partner, Sam Brownell, and I, who's my ex-partner now, we decided to just jump on early as a side hustle to make some extra money because we had time in COVID. I could probably have named all of the other gay creators who were willing to collab with us on one hand at that time. And now there's, hundreds of people that I could reach out to here. And I've just seen it explode from over the last 5 years from, being a select group of people to suddenly now, like, if you don't have an OnlyFans, what are you
Yeah.
doing? So,
Leaving money on the table. Do you think it's because it just became more societally acceptable to have an OnlyFans, whereas in the beginning it was sort of still like, oh, porn, you'll be on camera forever?
I think it was just too, like, it just made it so accessible for not just to consume, like, influencers, essentially, that you were following and they had an OnlyFans, so it piqued your curiosity. But the flip side is it's just so easy to, like, hey, I could put a nude up and get paid. You don't have to be earning $1,000 a week, but even just earning $10 a week is a coffee, for some people. So all of a sudden, people are jumping on this social media platform. To me, it just looks like Facebook. It's got the same layouts. It's super easy. And all of a sudden, you're controlling your content and you can put a price on it. So it just kind of blew up, really.
Which is impressive. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I know way more creators now because it used to be 5 years ago, it would be people whispering like, oh, our neighbor's an OnlyFans creator. And now it's something that's openly talked about among people.
I think too, because, like OnlyFans, it's not pornography, it's OnlyFans. People don't
Yes,
say, oh, they do porn, they do OnlyFans. Like, it's sort of, it is porn,
but
but the name has changed it so that you can, like, talk about it in public and it's not really shaming.
yeah, it's become its own
Yeah.
thing. Not gonna lie, you absolutely piqued my curiosity to a distracting level when you mentioned your business partner and ex-partner, who is this still your content creation partner? How is that working?
Yeah, I mean, we still work together. We were together for 6 years, so
Wow.
it's only just been recent. I mean, we both have new partners. When we started as a couple, Koby and Sam, and that's what our brand was built on. And quite early on, we did collaborations. We were one of the first Aussies to actually go overseas and collaborate with. Our first trip was to the UK, and that was simply because there just wasn't the level of creators in Australia, whereas in the UK there was some high-profile people that we went over there to shoot with. And because we did that very early on, and I think within the first year that we started OnlyFans, all of a sudden we got pushed out onto these big accounts and became known as the kind of the Australian
Couple?
guys, yeah,
Yeah.
Koby and Sam. That brand is quite strong, so it doesn't make sense to split it up because people know us as Koby and Sam. We could walk into a bar in Barcelona and people will turn their heads and recognize us now. So,
Wow.
it's pretty crazy.
That's really cool. Because
Yeah.
5 years ago, like, could you have imagined that being a reality?
No, not at all. It wasn't like I set a business plan 5 years ago to be where I am. We just did it as a side hustle and I built on it. Yeah, it just seems to keep building.
That's awesome. Are you and Sam still creating content together?
We are, yes. We still have a heap in the pipeline that we haven't released. He's taken a slightly bit of a backseat, whereas I'm just planning my next return to the UK trip. So it'll be exactly 4 years since I was in the UK first this
That's
June. Yeah.
awesome. And this is going to be like your first solo trip then.
It is. It will be my first solo trip, which is actually a little bit hard to swallow because for us, like, I've been really fortunate, especially because the international trips are very taxing. We could be shooting 3 or 5 scenes a day and having someone there because, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to start, we call it douching, to prep for bottoming for your
Yes.
scenes.
Yes. The Kinks
5 a.m.
community is
Yeah.
familiar with douching.
Being on set at 12, pumping scenes out, being exhausted, but having someone there with you the whole time just makes it a little bit easier. But this time being completely solo will be, like a little bit, it'll be a bit hard to swallow, but something I have to do.
I just went through a breakup with my ex-fiance of 7.5 years, and I know there's like a recalibration that has to happen of like, oh, here's the thing we used to do together, now doing it separately. But I have to commend you for even being able to like stay business partners. That sounds tough.
We broke up amicably, so we became apparent that our journey had kind of ended. However, our business journey continues and we remain friends, which is great.
That's awesome. Now rolling it back to the enema slash douching. 5 a.m. You're getting up 7 hours before you start.
So I actually have in the last few years just do a light douche, but I actually deep douche now. The difference being that a light douche is just cleaning out the first, I don't know the technical terms, but the rectum.
Yep.
A deep douche will actually surpass that
It,
into the colon and go all the way through the intestine. The problem with that is, well, there's positives and negatives. The positives is if you do a deep douche, you're clean for a day, basically. So like I could deep douche, I can go to a party, I'll be clean. After the party, go home, I'll still be clean because, any food that's come down has to go through that whole tract before it gets there. The negative is that it does take longer to actually do the douche than a light douche. So generally for me about 3 hours because you're putting water up there in sort of the first hour. You have to wait a couple of hours for that water to come out of your system. It doesn't just come out all at once. It will slowly drip down over a few hours. So you've kind of got to like set a bit of a time. It's something you can't do 20 minutes before they rock up. You've really got to be like, hey, I'm planning this. Let's get to it. But yeah, like I said, the benefits are once you get that down pat, you can have a lot more fun
you can party long
for
term
longer.
then. Yeah.
The best way to describe it is kind of like when you're light douching and you know how like sometimes you put too much water up there and it sort of passes the
Yeah.
where it like curves and then all of a sudden you're getting dirty water and it just won't stop because
Yes.
that water is coming from the others. So essentially what a deep douche does is like you continue pushing that water so it purposely goes past that point. And rather than just stopping at the point, you keep going to fill it up. So you still use a very low pressure tepid water, but you just, rather than 10 seconds, I will hold it for like up to sometimes a minute to really fill that passage. And then it will take, generally 5 to 10 minutes before things start to move, and all of a sudden everything will just move. Yeah, it can get a bit painful too because sometimes like you've got to get the closure between the rectum and the intestine. You've got to kind of move to open it to let the water flow. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, but yeah.
It cramps, doesn't it? A little bit of
Yeah,
cramping.
essentially, yeah, the water induces the cramping, which is actually your intestines moving everything through.
Yeah. And it takes a full
I,
7 hours though before
I
everything's
wouldn't,
fully out
I,
and you feel
I wouldn't
comfortable.
say, I wouldn't say 7 hours, like 3 hours. But obviously, if we're on set with people, we will kind of like the best thing about deep douching actually is you can eat and stay clean. So we would deep douche, do our initial pass, go have breakfast, so that and then come back and then finish off. And because you can eat, so it was a game changer. Because normally, like before that, I would not eat like for half a day before we had a shoot day to make sure that like no food was passing through. And once we discovered deep douching, yeah, the fact that we could eat and still be clean was a game
The day
changer.
before. Wait, when were you not eating? Day of or day before?
The day before, we would usually stop eating around midday or that just to allow food to like fully pass and then light douche so that nothing was still coming down. Because a light douche only lasts like half an hour or something before your body
Yeah.
can move, kind of thing. So,
That makes
mm.
sense. What's your schedule? Because I know you're quite busy. How often are you filming? How often are you posting?
I post to socials every day because you've just got to feed the algorithm. Shooting wise, we kind of do content blocks. We'll try and shoot a bunch of content in a condensed time span, particularly if we're overseas or like I'm headed overseas in June, I'll try and get the most bang for my buck. But that allows me to then release a scene, maybe once a week. And then I also do solo content too, which I also release once a week, which is a lot easier to film at home by myself. But for the collaborations, definitely we'll try and group them together and do that. Because when we first moved to Melbourne, we were filming with a lot of creators and it was almost 6 months of filming with one creator every weekend, and it just got too much because it took away life. Essentially, we were working
Yeah.
during the week, and then so I've learned to now try and group it together, maybe pump out 1 or 2 weeks of content, and make that content then stretch out.
So that you can actually take a day off and not have to think about
Correct.
work every single
Yeah.
day of your life. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. I mean, I only create Instagram content, like in addition to being a sex and relationship coach who takes clients. And I find
Mm,
that extremely taxing just doing
it
the
is.
social
Yeah.
media, not even create, right? What
Yeah.
content pops off for you the most on like non-OnlyFans socials like Instagram?
So for me, I've actually found that the stuff that lands the best is actually just looking straight at the camera, POV, sort of answering fans' questions. Having that personal access, I think, is what people, initially went to social media for. And so the fact that they can kind of like, I use not gonna lie, NGL for my
Yep.
followers to ask me questions, and I'll just pick one and kind of do a video. And for some reason, they always pop off. I don't know why. Maybe because, everyone has the same burning questions and they want to know. But yeah, I think too, just because it, gives a little bit of insight into your personality as well, as opposed to just seeing you get fucked on camera. You can't really give too much away when you're just kind of bottoming or topping.
I know people want that behind the scenes thing. They want your opinion. You already have a following in your own right, and then they get this extra piece. So I can totally see that. But also curiosity, man. It gets everyone. Even like I get followers who aren't kinky, but they want to know what it's like. So like they'll check out the videos too. Very cool. So do you do anything special for these big trips as into prep, or are you kind of always in prep mode of like, I got to be at the gym, I got to be taking care of myself because this is what I do?
I mean, I do obviously try and ramp up my gym and stuff to look good because I know that in that week of content, I'm going to get X amount of videos, so I want to look my best. But in terms of like the trip itself, not really. It is quite far for me to travel. So it's kind of half vacation, half filming content. And then, yeah, I guess just trying to line up other people is the hardest part because people's schedules don't always align, obviously, when I'm traveling. So there could be people who I've been wanting to work with for years that I've been chatting to, and then I just miss them because they have some other engagement on that date, and it can be really frustrating.
That I imagine is annoying. Or like worse, they're possibly like out of town that one weekend that you've
Yeah.
like organized to work.
Well, for
And
them as well, they're in London or they're in LA, they get people coming through all the time. No one really comes through Melbourne.
that's because it is far for everybody, right?
It's very
Like
far.
Australia is, it's one of those places I've always wanted to go, but somehow have never made it. And I'm like, now I work for myself. Now's the time to make it there. And it's still so far, it feels impossible to actually get to. So I'm impressed you've made it. You go yearly or have you gone like
Oh,
once every year?
pretty much like even twice a year. Like I've shot in the UK, I've shot in Spain, I've shot in Mexico, I've shot in the United States, shot in Amsterdam, Berlin, like Germany. I've shot in a lot of places. And what's been great too is that like I've shot in multiple countries with the same creators. One of my first people I worked with, PJ Knox, we met in the UK. He was then in Barcelona and we shot together. We then caught up again in Mexico and did a scene. And, it's so great to run into these people all the time that you're working with in different countries because it's just like, oh, hey, like it's so nice to see you again. And we're here in X. And like, that community is quite small. So it just adds a bit of familiarity and it's nice.
Do you have a favorite city you go to?
Definitely Barcelona is a bit of a hotspot for creators or for gay content, and we work with a producer there, Macho Jim. Sam and I recently just got nominated at the European Grammys for Best Top and Best Pornhub models for our work that we've done with him. So that
Wow.
was really great. Somewhere where I really want to go is Sao Paulo in Brazil. So that has starting to become a bit of a creator hotspot now. And I've never been to South America, so I would love to head over there.
So that's like next on your hit list for a new destination.
Maybe next year, yeah.
And congratulations on the nomination. That's huge.
Yeah, it was really unexpected as well. So we had no idea. And to be nominated with like all of those big creators and, we still feel like we're in the small fish in a big pond kind of thing. Being so far away from everyone, we don't have the constant access. So it was really nice and really to get that recognition.
That's awesome. When you came to the States, where did you go?
Obviously LA, and we've spent some time in Florida as well, and we've got a relationship now with some creators and looking to go up to the Midwest later in the year too to shoot content up there and possibly
Oh,
New
cool.
York.
So you do travel a lot.
Aussies do travel. I think because we are so far, when we do head overseas, we don't just go for a few days. We always take like 2 or 3 weeks. Like my Europe trip coming up is 4 weeks because we want to make it worth it. The flight is 24 hours at least, and expensive.
Yeah,
So we don't want to
absolutely.
just,
As an American, I'm like, will your job be waiting for you when you get back after
yeah,
4 weeks of travel? That's
yeah, yeah.
unheard of here.
We do. I think
Which
the standard is 4 weeks leave, 20 days.
All right. That's a
Yeah.
lot of time. I love that you're making the most of it.
Oh, I have to. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and then you're able to fit in vacation because it does sound like you're working a lot. So like being able to mix it up and get the best of both worlds. What are your personal kinks?
So I never used to, but this is something that has developed over time. Is I've actually really enjoyed what we call cum dumps. So it's kind of like a gangbang, essentially a group of guys just fucking me like a line, kind of like a Bonnie Blue style
Like a train,
line.
sort of like
Yeah,
one after
yeah.
the other, all coming inside
Yeah,
you.
yeah, anonymously as well. So I kind of like to be blindfolded and just be put there and then have guys go through me. And so that's a really big turn on for me. I think mainly because it's kind of giving up control, and I'm a very sort of regimented and controlling person. So it's kind of me being able to release and just give in to whoever it is and the situation. But I've decided this trip to try and maybe do a come dump scene. So I'm trying to organize that at the moment.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, that makes
Mhm.
total sense too. It's like letting the floodgates open and releasing all of
Basically.
that like controlling energy.
Yes, yeah.
Um, is there going to be like a Sharpie somewhere where they can sign you on their way out or no?
So generally,
Maybe that's
I wear a jock strap, and there is a marker, and they do a little tally on the jock strap. You know, like
awesome.
four and then across, four and across, and so
Yeah.
yeah, you can count the number of loads. And then I sell the jock strap usually. You know, someone wants to buy
Oh man.
it.
Okay. So now what's your record number? Question one. And number two, what's
Uh,
the most you've gotten for a jock strap? A used jock strap like that?
it was 56 loads in Miami, but it wasn't filmed. It was just something I did personally during a
You're allowed,
convention.
yes,
Um,
to have your
and
personal
and
moments.
then a lot of people are like, "That's impossible. How did you organize that?" Blah 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 blah. And it really wasn't hard. Was in Miami. I have a Sniffies, a gay app that just you can connect with people. I'm recognizable, so lots of people messaged me, and there were lots of hot guys in Miami. They were all asking for one-on-ones, and I was like, I'm never going to get through all these guys. I'll just make a group and start inviting them into the group, and it just grew. It just went like from like five to suddenly like 40 something guys, and I just set a time in the group thing and waited, and they all showed up. So
Wow. Well, of course they
yeah, and
did.
then
They,
you never know.
how long did it last?
It was 3 hours, so I did it for 6 and 9, and I remember like at 6 o'clock, I like put on my blindfold, got on the end of the bed, and the door was sort of unlocked at the hotel, and I sort of waited, and I waited for like 15 or 20 minutes. I thought, oh God, no one's gonna come, and then I heard the door open. So the door opened, and there was one guy, and then all of a sudden, like you keep hearing the door. I think that's what I get off on is hearing the door open most of all. So for some
Oh yeah,
reason,
I
I don't
get
know
that.
why.
I get that. There's like it builds the anticipation. You know it's
Yeah,
coming.
and you don't, but
That's
you can
hot.
see, and they're about to touch you, but you don't know when, and then you feel something brushing on you, and it's yeah. I do remember at the halfway point, like I sort of felt like I was getting shared by like two or three guys. I had to like just take a break to recompose myself a little bit and just get some fluids because after an hour and a half just sweating or whatever. So okay, I'm just gonna, I'll be back in a second. So I stood up, I took the blindfold off, expecting just to see, two or three. But there was like a line of about 10 or 12 guys down the hallway, all naked with hard-ons, waiting for their turn and all smiling at me. And so I had to walk past this line, went and just tied it up, came back, and I was like, oh, here we go. All right.
What a
So
life
that was fun.
moment. That's so amazing. A line of people who have shown up
Yeah,
to fuck you.
yeah.
Very hot. But like, what an efficient crew, by the way, to get through that many people in 3 hours. I'm impressed. Like,
Yeah, well,
what's that
I was
average
saying,
time?
I'm not sure.
I'm like pulling out a calculator. I'm like 180 minutes divided by 56 people, 3 minutes, just over three
Yeah.
minutes each.
That's not bad. That's pretty generous. I think with Bonnie Blue they only got like one thing, and it was like next kind of thing, like
Yeah.
because she was going for a
You
record or
kept the
something.
line
So
moving. Were you
yeah,
alone or did you have a facilitator there? Like someone
no, it was,
to look out and make sure it was
no,
okay?
I was alone. Yeah, I think I haven't had any issues like that. I think generally gay guys are pretty respectful, and a lot of them too are usually discreet or married as well, so they're not
Mm,
really looking to cause cause trouble. And I'm obviously not a small guy either. So, should something arise, it's not exactly going to be easy to overpower me. And generally, I think with other people there as well. Probably the hardest thing would be people filming, maybe. For those private ones, I always ask no filming because, I want to respect the privacy of whoever's showing up.
Everyone
Not
in
so
the
much.
room.
Not so much myself, I'm not worried about, but obviously people are coming expecting privacy. But obviously for this one in London, that's going to be filmed, so making sure that everyone is verified on platform before they arrive will be something, that I'll do pre the event.
So just because people need to be verified, it's going to be fewer people for that reason alone, right?
Potentially, yeah, but we'll see. Early days.
It's funny. It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know. Maybe there's 100 people who are ready to show up
It's
and
London.
verified.
I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Do you find that there are a lot of married men who do this just for the release of it? Of like, they wouldn't identify as gay at all, but like they want to enjoy the sex side of it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think too, like sexuality is very fluid. I don't really believe anyone is fully
Absolutely.
straight or fully gay. I don't see myself as fully gay. I always think that there is always the potential that I may meet someone that I, would go to for a sexual encounter. Especially as I've gone through, OnlyFans and stuff and become more, I guess, like open to kinks and more assured about my sexual identity, like that exploration. But definitely, I mean, in my personal time, I hook up with a lot of straight men who just come over for a blowjob or want to fuck me, or, like I'm an escort as well, so they do book me, and it's simply because, I guess one of the main things is they feel like they're not cheating because I'm not a woman. For them, it's very transactional. There's no confusion there about a potential relationship crossover because I'm a man and they're not gay specifically. They're never going to get romantically involved. So it's a lot easier to draw that line that it is just sex. I think men, too, the biggest difference is that men are very impulsive when it comes to sex. We get horny and we act on it straight away. And women hold the power in sex because I think women are a lot more attuned to sex. So they're a lot more aware of their needs, and so they're able to control their sexual urges a lot more, which means because they can control it, they can, and men are kind of like uncontrollable. We just act in the moment. That's the paradigm. So I
But do
actually
you
think women
believe
are
it?
much
Or,
more, no,
oh,
I
okay,
think women are
go ahead.
much more in tune. I think women are much more in tune with their sexuality than men. By that I mean is that like, because women are so in tune with their sexuality, they can control it, and they can know that it can be used to control men, essentially, who can't control it. We get the urge and we just get horny and we're like, we want to fuck something now, and we don't
But
think until after we do it, so.
I think that's true to an extent, but men can control themselves. Otherwise, they'd be out raping.
Oh, of course, but
See?
generally, but even still, it'll be like, oh my God, I have to go jerk off in the cubicle or something
Oh,
right
that's
now
true. Yeah, it's like they need the
like
release.
I need to get that post nut clarity, otherwise I'm just not going to get any work done today. Whereas I feel like women are a bit more sexually like able to control themselves. So
I would say compartmentalize. So that is an
okay, yeah,
area
it's
where
probably a good
women
word.
are strong in compartmentalizing of like, oh, I would
Yeah,
like to do that. Let me put that on the back burner and I'll like make a mental note to do that
100%.
later. Where
Yeah,
it's not I need to do it now. In saying that,
yeah.
I have had moments where I have had
Well,
to need to do it
look,
like
there
right
are
now.
always exceptions, but as a
Always exceptions, but it's not,
generality,
yeah, it's not the rule for me. See,
because a lot of
that's
the
something
straight
that's
guys will
interesting.
just, yeah, a lot of the straight guys will be like, "Hey, I'm just super horny. I just need to blow now. I'm driving down this street on my way to a meeting. Are you free?" And it's like, "Yeah, swing by," and it'll be like, "Bang, bang, done, out," and they're gone. So
Which is kind of crazy to me because as an adult, trying to organize anything at all is difficult. So being able to organize this on the fly with all of these apps and I guess ways to stay connected, it does make it easier, but it's still crazy to me that it's that accessible. I wish kink was that accessible. Genuinely, I wish I could say to someone like, I wish there was an app where I could just swing by for a spanking because that's my thing, my kinky thing. I would avail of that If it was an option,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Well, there could be a gap in the market. Who knows?
Believe me, there is not enough of a gap in the market. I would, even if I wanted to pay for such service, it doesn't exist. That is how rare it is. A gap, I guess, in the market of what you provide. So, what do you have plans to expand the business? Like, I mean, obviously, you have your fingers in a lot of different pies here. I feel over the course of this conversation, like a couple of things have come up. Like, oh, I also do this, I do that. I'm also doing this. What's
Yeah.
next?
Look, I don't really have a plan. I'm just keep going with the flow. As opportunities come, I sort of just take them as opposed to being like, this is where I want to be in a year's time or whatever. I'm sort of just enjoying it because I do work full time as well. And I know that this side hustle is not kind of a forever thing. So I'm just building on it, and if something pops up, I'll be like, yeah, but I'm not actively pursuing too much. And I think that's the best way to kind of go about it because this is a very up and down industry. Trying to be your own boss in any business is, very tumultuous, let alone in the sex working field or sex industry, because one minute you're hot, one minute you're not. It all depends on socials, anything. Like my Instagram account just got shadow banned for a month or something from a post I did. So, all of a sudden now my reach is like limited for a month, which, obviously affects revenue. So it's so unpredictable. And then I
Yeah.
think sometimes if you have these kind of big goals in such a industry that is in so much turmoil all the time and big turnover, you can maybe set yourself up for a bit of failure. So it's best
Yeah.
to not get too attached. But definitely, I have key people that I want to fuck. So, and I've ticked them off my list. So I do have some goals.
I love that. The goal is like to fuck the people I want to fuck. You mentioned that like the age range isn't going to be for like isn't I guess you just mentioned that the side hustle isn't going to be forever. What's the age range of content creators you see still working? Like you mentioned
I
earlier
mean,
that you're
it's so broad. And, I've worked with fresh content creators like Melbourne Twink, who was 20. And then I've worked with, like DILF gay daddies like Mr. Dickie James, who are in their like mid 50s kind of thing. I myself now am moving into my 40s and, I'm a daddy, I guess. I mean, I was nominated Best Daddy for Pornhub Awards, so I guess I can claim that I'm a daddy.
yes, you can.
But,
You can own that daddy title.
I think that's one of the things that OnlyFans has done as well is that it's allowed people to step outside the stereotypes of the studio system. And, people are interested in all sorts of ages and ranges. I mean, I'm so surprised about the amount of young guys now that are interested in me because I'm a daddy, who
Yeah.
wouldn't have looked at me in my mid-20s. And so the age range is so broad. It's really broad.
That's a really
There's a
cool thing,
market.
though. It's not constrained to one specific age and everyone is that age. And that's like, I guess, mass amount of people. Okay. If you understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Okay. Your new partner, do you film with them?
No, we don't, and I've specifically asked not to. We
Oh,
we've
that's
we've made
cool.
like some, yeah. Well, I think part of why Sam and I sort of, we've shot over 500 scenes together as in professionally, and so obviously that does have a bit of an impact on your personal life because then
Yeah.
the sexual intimacy sort of started to taper off, and it did start to feel like work because we would fall into the routine of doing of what we would do in a scene. And we work really well in a scene, but we're doing it from a perspective of the camera. So when we were alone, like it didn't have, it sort of just started to help. That divide became a little bit more apparent. So yeah, my current partner, we don't work together. So in fact, he'll be traveling with me in Europe, but won't be there during the content part. We'll be somewhere else, and then I will catch up with him afterwards.
So something to look forward to then. So
Yeah, and I think too, because he obviously doesn't want to like just be sitting on the sidelines kind of thing. Although it would be really nice to have him there for me, like for aftercare or whatever. I understand as well that, it's not the easiest thing to watch your partner like work with all these people or film like a cum dump scene. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
So he's open. It's just hard to be there to watch it and sit there just twiddling your thumbs, not getting
exactly.
involved. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. Well, Kobe, thank you so much for joining me today. This was
My
a
pleasure.
really fun conversation. It was great to get your perspective, and just the stories you brought were amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. So it's always a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.